All right, here with Glen Jennings. Glen, we've just had the press conference. Tszyu, Joey Spencer. Talk to us about how this fight came together. It's it's a tough test for Tszyu.
It is a tough test for Tim, and as he mentioned himself, that he's that guy that prefers the tough fights to a warm-up fight. So we looked at a lot of opponents, and we wanted a very, very credible, tough opponent for Tim, without putting so much emphasis on it being one of the top five or the big names we've talked about. Coming off a loss, Tszyu's got his hands full with this young guy.
What are you looking to get out of this fight? Is this sort of a fight to see where Tim's at, or what's your thinking behind picking this guy?
I think there's a whole range of things when you have a year like we did last year. There's a lot of reflection and a lot of thoughts go into what's the best path to go forward. And you go to the fighter and you go to the coach and you go to the promoters, and we sat in a room and we had a long, long chat about where we're going to take this. And the general consensus was from Tim that he wants to elevate back to that very top as quickly as possible. And I think Joey Spencer, with an emphatic victory for Tim, pretty much will wash away a lot of last year's disappointment.
How do you look back on last year? There's been a lot of critics of the team, a lot of critics of yourself. Has it been hard mentally? Have you questioned some of the decisions that were made? What's that sort of a time period been like for yourself?
Yeah, look, I mean, you've got to take the good with the bad. We had 24 great wins, and everyone was on the train and loving it. And then, of course, we had the Sebastian Fundora loss, which was unfortunate from a dreadful elbow cut. Moved to Mertzalayev, and that was a hard one. Tim lost that fight. If you're asking me, do we regret any of the things? You can't, simply because when you have a fighter like Tszyu who openly says that I want to fight the very best, he's prepared to challenge anyone. How do you stop that? How do you completely close him down and say, no, we're not doing that? I mean, a manager's job is to, of course, get Tim the fights, but the fighter in his heart will tell you and guide you also towards where he wants to be. And the whole team as a group then says, we gather around our fighter and we support him and get him to that fight. From then, they climb in the ring and it's all up to him. So it's not an easy job. Everyone thinks when you're winning, it's a great, easy job. It's not. And you do question yourself and you do think, oh my God, that was a tough loss. But we've got to dust off and move forward, mate. And I hope for Tim's sake that he has a great win against Joey Spencer and we move on.
We saw Eddie Hearn out here recently. I don't know if you saw, he said the jury's still out on Tszyu. When you see those sort of comments, and the two guys Tim lost to are world-level fighters, what do you make of those sort of comments?
Oh, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I don't worry too much about opinions. They as you see nowadays in the world we live in, they're a dime a dozen. But again, the reality is, Tszyu, you can't walk around and say to the world, I'll fight anybody, and then bitch and moan about it when you lose. You know, you're going up against the very best in the world, and there's every chance you might lose. It's what happens when you lose and how you come back from that. And that's what we're working on now. We don't dwell on the past. Tim watched it back for the other day. He's the first to admit, he said, I didn't do that well at all. I actually went in there and got it all wrong. That's okay. You're allowed, that happens. This is boxing. It's brutal. And when you're fighting the best in the world, if you don't turn up with everything in play, there's a very real chance you're going to get beat. So, we dust off and we move forward, and 2025, hopefully we can wash away the pain of 2024.
What do you see as the path for Tim? Joey Spencer, obviously not looking ahead, but a good win here, and then how long till we sort of see Tszyu back at that top level?
It all depends on outcomes. As you know, we didn't expect to be here. We expected to already be up there. So we're now dealing with the outcomes of disappointment and loss. That's part of the game. You can't deny that. So if Tim has an emphatic win and does very well, we will look at his next fight as being another step up. And it could well be, depending on who's available and opportunities that come up, it could well be an elite level. We'll wait and see, and we'll look at all those options on the end of April 6th.
Now, Nikita Tszyu, no announcement for him just yet. What can we expect from Nikita? Obviously coming back from a hand injury. when can we expect to see him back?
Been a bit of a traumatic time for Nikita's left hand. It was some extensive surgery to repair it. He hits that hard, the hand doesn't like it, and so the surgeons have fixed it. It's all good. His first sparring session starts today for his camp. I spoke to Igor just prior to this. He's here with us today, and Igor is very happy where Nikita's at. So yeah, look, there'll be an announcement made by No Limits shortly. They've got so many bloody cards on at the moment. It's confusing as to who's doing what, but Nikita will be back in the ring very soon.
And you've got some a lot happening in your little stable there as well. You got Liam Wilson this weekend. You got Brennan Gratch on this card. Amber Amelia as well. Sunny night.
What's going on?
What's going on?
This Saturday, Liam Wilson, the rematch with Huey Dibb, Vegas Larfield on the undercard for Liam Wilson in Brisbane. We then bounce into Sunny night at the Hearn Pavilion on the Thurman Jarvis fight night. Then April 6th, Brandon Gratch, Brent Walton and Amber Amelia. And so it just keeps on rolling. There's so much going on. And excitingly for me too, on April 6th, Cooper O'Connell, the son of Shotgun Shannon, makes his pro debut coming off the back of a brilliant 2024 winning the World Youth Championships for the under-19. So the best in the world. He's only 18 years old, making his pro debut. So very exciting for Newcastle to get to see Cooper. So yeah, a lot going on, mate. A lot of dates, a lot of confusion, and a lot of... Have I got that right? I've got to go back and review it. But yeah, it's a very busy time. But Fight Life Management, all the team, a lot of box camp fighters coming in on the Newcastle card from Nath's gym out there. So yeah, very exciting.
Last one for you. Saw Keith Thurman coming out here to fight Brock Jarvis. What do you make of that fight?
Yeah, there's a bit of unfinished business with Keith and Tim, so yeah, keep that in the back of our minds. That if depending on their result, of course, if Keith Thurman has an emphatic win, you never know. It could be an opportunity for Keith and Tim to square up out here. Who knows? But look, there's No Limits. We've got a great list of options in front, but all based on outcomes. And let's all get behind Tim here in Newcastle. It's great for me to be able to bring home these fights to Newcastle, born and bred, proud Novocastrian, and to go back to the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, nothing better. And Tim Tszyu loves it, man, and the vibe loves it. If you haven't been to a Tim Tszyu fight, this is the one to come to.
Nice one. Thanks mate. Appreciate it.